I say we're stomping, then we're tattooing, then we're hanging, and then we're killing. I say we let him go. I'm Liam, he's Rob, and welcome to the Hey Guys podcast. This week, we take a look back at one of the strangest, relentless, and most imaginative movies of the 80s. Does everything in Tim Burton's Pee-wee's Big Adventure work? No, absolutely not. But when a movie is this propulsive, this willing to throw just about everything at the wall, it's easy to forget shortcomings and simply embrace the kind of insanity that somehow allows 3 movies worth of material to be crammed into 90 minutes worth of screen time. Now, I'm still not sure if I'm a particularly big fan of the character, but I, for one, was ultimately won over by the huge amount of talent involved here, be it Burton's direction, Elfman's fantastic score, or the surprisingly brilliant writing that underpins it all. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, quite bizarrely, ends up as something of a showcase for some of Hollywood's finest talents of the time. Now, Rob, I'm as shocked as anyone to be saying that, as 10 minutes into this movie, I hated it. I hated my friend Adam for suggesting it. I was just like, man, this is going to be a rough 90 minutes. And then he got his bike stolen and everything changed. But I'm genuinely interested to hear what you make of this film.
Oh, I'll save you. I still hate your friend Adam. I'm sure he punked us. This film is fucking awful.
Oh, really?
Mate, I hated it. I've always hated Paul Reubens as Pee Wee Herman. The fucking laugh gets me. Mate, I fucking hate with a capital hate this film. Like, I struggled.
I'm sorry, Karen.
I honestly struggled. The only saving grace was I'm a big fan of Elizabeth Daily as Dottie.
Dottie.
Like, yeah, so Elizabeth Daily is a voice artist more than anything else. We know it. She's done all like the Powerpuff Girls. She's done like Tommy Pickles from Rugrats.
Yeah, I was going to say Tommy Pickles is probably the voice you know of. She was in the famous Smelly Cat episode on Friends. She's been in a bunch of TV shows. She's a musical artist as well, which she's quite famous for. But yeah, she's adorable in this. And just be clear, Pee Wee Herman does not deserve her whatsoever. I quite like the idea that Pee Wee Herman, despite the fact that he looks like a man-child, is something of a sex symbol in this film. Like, Dottie's just totally into him, and he's just not interested.
What's his job?
I don't think he has one.
So how can he afford that house?
Well, that's the weird thing about this film. And one of the things I struggle to figure out is where this world exists in terms of it sits somewhere between fantasy and reality. And sometimes it kind of genuinely tiptoes towards reality and then goes wildly back into the realm of fantasy. Like earlier in the film, when he goes into the magic shop, he just seems to the guy is just handing him just random shit, the kind of magic shop where if you'd gone to when you're younger, you would have absolutely adored. And he's just basically just taking a bag, taking whatever he wants. And as far as I can tell, he just walks the fuck out with, the guy's best wishes. But then later on in the film, he has issues in so much that he doesn't have the money to get home. So it's like everything else in this film, it just kind of veers back and forth between somewhere tiptoeing around reality and then just going into high fantasy. And that is one of the reasons why spoiler alert, I kind of love this film. And like I said, I'm as shocked as anyone to say that, because for 10 minutes, I've never been a fan of Pee Wee Herman in general. And I think one of the things is probably worth stressing as well, because this is the first time both of us have seen this film, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all aware of Pee Wee Herman as being a thing, but I think Pee Wee Herman is a distinctly American beast in many respects. Like, it just never really translated over here. I know it's huge in the States. Like, basically, it came from a failed Saturday Night Live audition, which led to Reubens creating the character, which led to a sketch show, which led to a HBO special, which went on to an American tour, which led on to the movie itself. I'm sure that was a big deal in America. Over here, most of those things back in the 80s, HBO, Americans, it just wouldn't have come over. You just kind of, I always knew him more as this kind of vaguely 80s icon, but didn't know really anything about his movies or the sketch or anything.
The same. I've seen clips of this film before. I do remember back when I was a kid watching like the bike part where the guy tries to grab the handle and the handle come off, and then he does that fucking
Mhm.
laugh, and then a new handle comes. So that kind of thing I remember, but I've never seen it. And Pee Wee to me, I've just the name Pee Wee. I know the character. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
knowing Barney the purple dinosaur. I've never seen a fucking episode, but I know
Yeah.
Barney. Like,
Yeah, it's almost like he's like, to me, in terms of like an 80s equivalent, he is the character equivalent of what like Twinkies were to food. Like up until like I don't know, like a decade ago, Twinkies had never made it over here. So I had no idea what a Twinkie tasted like, but I knew of Twinkies just through like osmosis from watching
yeah,
American
yeah.
films. And I feel like the same with Pee Wee Herman. He's been referenced in a million TV shows. You've seen him in bits and bobs, but I never really got a sense that he made any genuine impact in the UK.
I could have gone for another 42 years without watching it, if I'm honest. Like it and it has to be. I've used the word hate. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I've used it more. I don't know. Listeners can tell me, but I'm pretty sure I've used the word hate twice on this podcast. It was for this.
It was definitely more.
It
Oh,
was
sorry. I thought you meant this podcast. I was like,
no,
I think
no,
you
no.
said like eight like 12 times so far.
It was for this, and it was for Flight of the Navigator. And what do they have in common? Fucking Paul Rubens.
Maybe you just don't like Paul Rubens. How about we do? All right, is the next Paul Rubens movie? We'll do
Buffy.
Mystery Men.
Oh, I was going to say Buffy. I like him in Mystery Men, and I think he
Yeah.
was all right in Buffy with the film.
Oh, the movie film. Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
movie
yeah.
film.
The
Yeah, I
movie film.
haven't seen Buffy the movie film since like 1993.
Oh, it's been a
So
long
that'd be
time.
an interesting one to
It's been a
return
long time
to.
because I just know Ben Affleck was in that film. Like he was one of the basketball players.
Was he?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's
dude, I can't
like
remember that
credited. He's
at
just
all. I
he's
can't
the
remember
guy
that
that
at all.
gives the ball to the vampire. Hey,
Mhm. Although
can I
I'd be genuinely inclined to go back and rewatch Mystery Men, which I
Oh, I
have
can
like
do it.
fond memories of, and I think it'd be interesting to go back to it now after like what the last 20 years of non-stop superhero films. Like, how is it aged?
Yeah, I could do it. I could do both. I'm happy.
Mhm.
We'll spread the
Give
Rubens a
Paul
bit. We
Rubens a
won't. Yeah,
breather.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Speaking of that psycho, right?
Mhm.
He brushed his teeth before he had his breakfast with orange juice. What an
Yeah, I mean,
absolute psycho.
one of the first things I wrote before this film, and as I said, I know you hate this film, and I'm not going to try and talk you off the ledge because the character, and as I mentioned in the intro, I think I love the film, but I still don't like the character. And I feel like Pee Wee Herman is like the hurdle to get over for me to enjoy everything else that there is about this film. And it's when I stopped watching it as a goofy comedy, which it was for the first time, and I was like, oh man, I'm not sure about this. And once I started watching it as this kind of surrealist comedy, I was just like, all right, this works. But yeah, in the intro, when he's in his house and he's brushing his teeth with that giant toothpaste, and it's also broad gurney comedy, I was just like, all right, what mental illness is this motherfucker supposed to have?
Yeah.
Because it's like, and this is 10 minutes in. I was like, man, this is gonna be a long ass 90 minutes.
You know what why I
Oh, by the
think
way, he
I
also had his Christmas decorations up, which is fucking unforgivable.
do you know why I think I took a dislike to this film? And it's weird because I know this film was released before the film I'm going to mention, but I've seen that film more. So it kind of feels like this is a rip-off of it. I know it's not, but in my mind, and it did it better. This, from the adventure, from the weird character, from everything like that, this is Bubble Boy.
Is what, sorry?
This is Bubble Boy with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, Bubble Boy. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I've
So
never seen
this,
it.
oh, have you not seen? Okay,
No,
yeah, you watch Bubble Boy and you go, well, that's fucking Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
fair
Like
enough.
instead of his bike getting stolen, his missus gets stolen. Do you know what I mean? So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just, yeah,
I'm
it's
wondering. Sorry.
no, it's basically the same thing. But going back to the house because you mentioned the the Christmas decorations.
Mhm.
I had a question for you, right? What meeting happened in 1985 that
Mhm.
everyone turned around and said, "Do you know what we need in our film? A Rube Goldberg machine."
I got the same thing
Because
down.
it's
They're in everything.
this, The Goonies, Back to the Future, and Brazil, just to name a few, and they were all 1985.
That's a great shout. That is a great, and they all had Drew Goldberg playing
Yeah,
a prevalent part in the opening of those films.
yeah. So
It was just all the rage in '85 for some reason.
I really don't understand. I know I'm fucking tripping over my own words. I really don't understand what happened. He said, "Do you know what this movie needs? A Rube Goldberg machine." Like, does
Well,
it
I don't
really?
think. I think maybe before this podcast, I had said the term Rube Goldberg machine maybe 2 or 3 times in my life. It feels like every other like podcast, I'm like, we're talking about a Rube Goldberg machine. They just
Yeah,
kept popping up in the '80s, and
yeah.
but that is one of the other things about this film is I couldn't decide because one of the reasons my friends actually suggested we do this podcast, he goes, "Oh,
Because he
so
hates me.
Oh, it might be because he hates you,
Okay.
but it was
Yeah.
because he thought it was like so incredibly 80s, and it is in many respects. It's like the toys that you see, the neon in his house, the Mr. T cereal, Woolworths, especially for us
Yeah.
British listeners.
Yeah.
Odd Jobs in it. Jason Harvey as Kevin Morton from The Wonder Years. Twisted Sister, just for no fucking reason whatsoever. I'm
No
just like,
fucking reason at all.
Yeah, none whatsoever. None whatsoever. But aesthetically, a lot of this film is much more 50s. In terms of its design, I would argue it pushes more towards the 50s than the 80s. And it's weird. We notice the 80s stuff now because we're watching it retrospectively 40 years later. But I think a lot of the 80s stuff in this film is in it because, it was filmed in 1985. Whereas like his look, the bike, everything about it, it is very much the 50s. It's kind of like they kind of smashed together the kind of future and the present, and the past in Back to the Future, and just kind of put it all up on screen at the same time. And again, that's what lends this film its kind of surreal nature. And again, I appreciate you're not a big fan of the film, but the reason I warmed to it was because when he's on his own, I really don't like Pee Wee Herman. Let's be clear. I completely agree with you.
It's the characters around him. I get that. The characters
100%,
around him kind of sell it, yeah.
But that's what the movie does. Like one of the interesting things is basically at its core, this movie has an incredibly simple narrative. And the reason for that is Rubens, Phil Hartman, and Michael Varhol were revising the script after they got Tim Burton on board as director. And they had never written a screenplay for
No, they Googled something. Oh, not Google.
They referred to Sid Field's 1979 book Screenplay and literally did everything it said. So they were like, all right, it should be 90 minutes long, check. The script should be 90 pages long, check. He should lose his MacGuffin 30 pages in, check. He should find his MacGuffin 60 pages in, check. It just kind of ticks all these boxes. And when you stop and think about it, like, well, this is a really simple film. But what ultimately elevates it is that simple structure allows Tim Burton to basically go insane. And it's once he's established the plot and established Pee Wee Herman as something of an annoying bell end, he loses his bike. And from that moment on, the rest of the film is basically a collection of non sequiturs or bizarre interactions with even more bizarre characters that drive the rest of the film. And as much as he is annoying on his own, he is surprisingly watchable next to bizarre characters. And I think it's Pee Wee Herman's world which allows this movie to exist. So I don't think Pee Wee, the character, deserves a movie this good. I don't. But I think his character and the world built around him allows for Tim Burton to be as creative as he is with the rest of the movie, and why, the writing's allowed to go completely off the deep end from the 30th minute onwards.
I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. I just can't see past Pee Wee Herman because he is in 90 minutes of this 90-minute film.
Oh, yeah.
You can't get away from him, and he is so annoying. And I just, so everything from when he's having that conversation with Simone and he's being chased by what looks like Bluto from Popeye, like it's just it's so just ingrained in me that this guy is, and the fucking laugh, and it just starts to dig and like you do see what I do like that this is given is like Danny Elfman gave us a Danny Elfman Tim Burton partnership. It's mad to say that this was the film that started it all, but okay, that's absolutely fine.
Great score as well. Great score.
Oh yeah, no, it is a very good score, and I want to see Find the Crap, but I can't. Like, I can't go any further than just saying that I will never watch this film again. And if you wanted to do an ET Atari game style and get every fucking copy of Pee Wee Herman and just bury it in a landfill, I'm all right with that. Like, it's
weird because, like I said, on the one hand, I can see where you're coming from, and like I said, if you talked to me 10 minutes in, I would be like, dude, I'm on the completely same page. But I wasn't just like won over. I genuinely think this is a borderline brilliant movie, which I know you're going to find. Which I don't know if you're going to find hard to believe, or whether you can accept the fact that if you can get over the Pee Wee thing, that there's a brilliant, like, surrealist, utterly unique movie behind it. And I think one of the most impressive things it does is it somehow successfully incorporates just every type of comedy. Like, it doesn't all land, But and I think the important thing is that nothing outstays its welcome because it jumps around so much. Don't get me wrong, it's mega hyperactive, but somehow Tim Burton keeps the train on the tracks. And it's like this film has got wit, it's got surreal humor, it's deadpan, it's got sketch comedy, it's got topical humor, physical humor, slapstick, parody, farcical humor. There's even a bit of edgy comedy to this film. I mean, there's one sequence, the bit in the dinosaur with Pee Wee and Simone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like
They're
if it was
talking, but he's
intentional.
misinterpreting it as sex outside. Is that what
No,
you're saying?
yeah, but it's
Ah,
just before that bit because I was going to say like it suddenly turns into like the scene of like oh like misunderstood innuendo, but before that it almost feels Lynchian. I was like, this feels like a scene from fucking Blue Velvet. And I was like, is he just having his cake and eating it and being like, all right, for like literally for 3 minutes, I'm going to turn this into a David Lynch homage, but then I'm going to immediately shift to sexual innuendo and him getting chased by the big Baloo looking motherfucker. Not Baloo. What's the character you said earlier? He doesn't really
Bluto.
care. Bluto,
Bluto.
thank you very much.
You said, or
Sorry, Karen.
sorry, you said all those comedy types. Then the
Mm-hmm.
problem is, yeah, all those comedy types are thrown in, but they're not any good. The tequila dance scene is awful. He can't dance. He can't even funny dance. Like that. That's not good. The cross dressing scene with Mickey. The whole thing about why are you in prison? Because I ripped the mattress tags off. Like just
I thought that was quite funny.
oh, that was done better with Problem Child, where you had
Mm-hmm.
Kramer as the psycho, you know, with the bow tie, and everybody's upset with
Mm-hmm.
Kramer. Like it wasn't, it didn't feel funny. It didn't, to be fair, mate, this film just did not, in lack of a better word, touch me. It touched me in the wrong places. Like if I had a doll to tell you where Pee Wee Herman's fucking film touched me, it would be all the wrong places.
See, I mean, like when Dottie comes into the film, I'm like, oh, I quite like Dottie and the whole thing about like him. Like, it's almost like it reminded me a little bit of Will Ferrell's character in The Other Guys, Gator, where it's just like he's just this everyday dude, but all the women want to have sex with him. And Mark Wahlberg spent the whole film like, what the fuck is going on? And there's an element of that where Simone's into him and Dottie's into him, but he's this like man child who just has clearly no interest in women. But it was like from the moment he got his bike stolen and he's like there on the bench and then just every type of bike goes past and there's like a toy bike. I'm like, oh wait, is this starting to win me over? And it was very rarely laugh out loud funny. There was one bit when he left the bar with the biker gang and they all pat him on the back and he gets on the
Yeah,
motorbike
and
and then he
false
just
yeah.
drives straight through the sun. I was just like, that was broadly quite funny. And I mentioned a bunch of times like how surreal this gets. It's never more surreal and never more Burton-esque than the dream sequences which come out of nowhere. There's, the dinosaur dream sequence with the stop motion animation, super imaginative. And then the scene at the very end in the hospital, which is another dream sequence when it's basically just Tim Burton going, I can just, take the training wheels off here and go absolutely bonkers for 5 minutes. But really, like I said, when I think back to this film, and I've kind of almost blocked off, blanked out the kind of first 10, 15 minutes, which I wasn't keen on, it is those character interactions and the fact that every character makes an impact as far as I'm concerned is the reason I think this film ultimately works. And the fact that, I mean, I was watching this and I know this is tricky because I'm talking to someone who clearly despises this film, but I was like, I think if I'd watched this as a kid, I would have hated it. But watching it as an adult, I like it and maybe I appreciate it more than I like it. But I think it was because, and again, 10, 15 minutes and I'm just like, oh, this is everything I feared it was going to be. And then I was just like, man, this film is so much weirder than I was expecting that, it could just be down to expectations. My expectations were so low at that point that the fact that it turned into something I even just kind of remotely liked, I was like, oh, holy shit, this is quite good. But I don't know, maybe I'd need to go back and rewatch it. I'm not going to convince you to rewatch it, of
Oh,
course.
I'm not rewatching it. I'm not rewatching it. When he had his bike stolen and he realized who might have stolen it, and he went like fucking Liam Neeson mode and started dunking Chubby from Teen Wolf.
Oh, Francis.
In,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's weird.
in that massive swimming pool bath. If I've ever been jealous of a film ever, it's for that massive swimming pool bath. Like
Oh, so
that
cool.
thing was insane. But it just, and do you know he did Teen Wolf and this at the same time,
Two
1985.
classics. Two. I
Yeah.
mean, Teen Wolf. I always can kind of consider the best worst movie of all time. Like, we talked, on this podcast before, the whole difference between kind of like, separating nostalgia and stuff. And sometimes it is literally like, you have these films, but they can be objectively bad.
Yeah.
And Teen Wolf is a movie where I could spend 90 minutes telling you how bad it is, but I could also spend 90 minutes telling you why I love it. It's both things simultaneously. And this is a complete, I actually, and I know you're not a fan, I think this is a much, much better made movie than Teen Wolf. Much.
Fuck no.
Dude, it's in a different, it's in a different league. It's in a, like, you can tell, like, Burton's direction,
I think that's
writing.
why. I honestly think that's why, because you're putting too much Tim Burton to this film. And
no, I think this is well written. I think all the parts, other than Pee Wee Herman, are genuinely good.
I would, like you
said, Teen Wolf,
absolutely love.
No, I just want to be clear as well. Sorry, before because I know I'm upsetting you. If you ask me what would I prefer to watch, Teen Wolf or this, it's no question. I adore Teen Wolf, but on an objective, critical level, Teen Wolf is ass. Teen Wolf is ass.
But that's like this fucking thing is ass as well. But the problem is, people are putting too much of the name Tim Burton. I would love for you to watch this film without knowing Tim Burton directed it, and I guarantee you, you'd go, this film is fucking. I don't know what the fuck.
There's no way.
This film.
Like I genuinely, like I said, 10 minutes in, there was no like, oh, this is a Tim Burton film. I was like, I'm really not going to like it. I don't even think it's the direction, because I think there are only hints of this being a Tim Burton film. Like, make no mistake, this comes off the back of, he made two shorts. He'd made Vincent in 82 and he'd made Frankenweenie in 84. Yeah. And he'd been given the reins to make his first feature-length film, and they're just like, actually,
and he made this pile of shite.
You don't watch this other than a few moments where you're like, oh, that's a Tim Burton film. But if it wasn't for the Danny Elfman score, you would have no idea it was directed by Tim Burton. All you know is it's competently directed. But really, what is the shining light behind this film is, I think, the writing is what ultimately elevates it.
I kind of think you went into this knowing it was Tim Burton, and being a Tim Burton fan, it's kind of, I honestly think it's a kind of rose-colored glasses you. It's like the same if James Cameron did two CGI puppets sucking each other off. You think it's the best film in the world.
I do genuinely think, like, Tim Burton aside, I think this is a well-made film. I do.
I've struggled.
I genuinely think you are at least partially blinded by your hatred for the character, which I appreciate to an extent.
It's not so much like being blinded by the character and any of that. It's just down to the fact that everything about this film just felt off. It didn't feel. It's not a comic masterpiece. It's not a great adventure film. It is just off. It is not for me. It's rubbed me the wrong way, and I'd rather watch Flight of the Navigator again.
Well, Flight of the Navigator isn't a bad film. It's
yes, it is.
I think. I think if you went back and listened to it, I think we both just went, we're just not fussed on it. Like, that film did not get the vitriol from you that this film has got, not in the same way. And like, similar with Flight of the Navigator, I think was just okay. Like, well, it wasn't okay. I just didn't really like it, but it's not like a terrible film. I just wasn't all that fussed. This film, I can totally see why it's garnered a cult following, because I don't think there's anything else like it. And as I said, it was once he got his bike stolen, and you started getting those lines like, when he's talking about, like, he thinks the police officer's like, why do you think the Soviets were involved? And when Francis is having a bath, and he's like, oh, who did you find to hose him down? Like, just these little moments where it's just like, oh, the script is pretty sharp for this film. I really think it is. And although just little moments in this film which provided a sense of nostalgia. When he was giving to I think it was Francis and his dad, and he gave them spearmint and fruit gum, I was just like, that's one of the things in this world where it disappeared and I didn't realize it happening. It's just all of a sudden, like 20 years later, I'm just like, what the hell happened to Wrigley's Spearmint and Wrigley's Fruit Gum? When we were younger, the only chewing gums in town, there were three. There was Hubba Bubba, there was the Wrigley Spearmint and fruit ones and all that shit. And then there was the really cheap bollocksy stuff you got free with cards, which was just horrendous. But
what about
the premium
mint,
chewing gum, what's that?
Double mint. Was that? I always remember Double. Was it Wrigley's? It might have been Wrigley's.
Might have been. Well, I just remember like the adverts and everything. They used to put like genuine money into the adverts where they'd have like the little sticks and everything, but it's disappeared. And it wasn't just those. Obviously, they were like prank chewing gums. And I'm not sure. I mean, you'll remember, you're a comic book guy. When we were younger, the back of comic books was absolutely chock-a-block with adverts for like prank stuff that you could send off for in the post. I never did, and it was like the kind of stuff that was in the magic shop actually,
Itching
like
powder,
X-ray
X-ray
glasses. Yeah,
specs,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, hand buzzers, all that kind of jazz. Yeah,
I found that stuff so nostalgic, even
It-
though I never really bought it. It was just stuff in the back of comics.
so this film now marks 3 of the 4 known fours for Professor Tanaka. Right, we've done 3 of his 4 known fours.
Professor Tanaka.
Yeah, Sub-Zero.
Who's he in? Oh shit! Of course. Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah,
I was literally thinking of a doctor or
an
something.
actual professor.
Yeah, an actual professor.
Yeah,
Oh god,
Professor
what are the other
Toru
ones
Tanaka.
he's done? Oh, dude, what is? You have to tell
Well,
me. I'm just drawing a
well, I've
complete
just
blank.
said Sub-Zero.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
Yeah. He was tough Asian man in Last Action Hero.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't have remembered that,
No.
but I should because we did it quite recently.
So the only one we haven't done of his 4 is Dark Man, where he was Chinese Warrior #2,
The one with the Liam Neeson one,
the Liam Neeson one.
which is almost amazing. We haven't done. That's been like on the kind of to-do list for
Yeah,
ages, and for some reason or another, I just keep knocking it down the list. And I almost don't know why, because it's one of those films I've not watched for like 25 years plus, but I watched loads when I was younger.
Yeah.
I remember loving it, but
It's
I don't know, maybe
it's
I
the
need to go back
one.
to it.
So the one for me like that for some reason is Short Circuit. I don't know why. I really
haven't
want to
seen
cover
it for
Short Circuit,
ages.
but I keep
Mhm.
knocking it down the list. There is he was in a film that I do want to do, and you've probably never heard of it. It's a
Mhm.
film called Dead Heat.
Dead Heat doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah. So do you know an actor called Joe Piscopo?
Nope.
I think you'll know his face more than anything else. He's just but Treat Williams, you remember Treat Williams, yeah?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo are 2 cops, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
one of them ends up becoming a zombie.
Mhm, mhm.
And
Oh, of
then
course, Treat Williams. Yeah, yeah, of course.
yeah, one of them ends up becoming a zombie. And, and it's zombie cop and normal cop then fighting crime. I
I'm
remember
not gonna
loving
lie,
Vincent Price
but
is in it, dude.
the posters are amazing, dude. How have I
Yeah,
never heard of it? This could
yeah,
be one of
Dead
those
Heat.
classic Rob ones where you come out of nowhere and it's an odd one as well because it's got like 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's 6.1 on IMDb. So people
Yeah.
like this film. I mean, I would give it 6.1 just for the fucking poster, which is dope. Yeah, I kind of want to see this now. Another one. Jesus Christ, see, we're just finding she's talking about other movies because you don't like this one. Maniac Cop. That's another one. It keeps
Yes.
popping on Amazon
Yeah,
Prime.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
never seen Maniac Cop. Like this should be the excuse, but anyway, we'll get to that at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But I mentioned one of the reasons I do like this film is, I like the fact that it's like at its heart a really simple all-American kind of road trip movie, but it's just like bizarre because he's going to the Alamo of all places. And it starts with, there's a bunch of like awesome sight gags where they drag it out longer than it should be, and I think they're some of the best stuff in the film. Like when he's hitchhiking to the Alamo and just nobody will pick him up, and he just keeps getting tighter and tighter, and so he's laying on the floor. It's like like later in the film, like when he gets to the Alamo and he wants to know where the basement is, and it's weird because we spend so much time going to the Alamo and him finding this basement, and we know it's bullshit. We know it's just what was it? Madame Ruby's just fed him like bullshit information. But by the time you get there, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that. It's definitely not him. We've wasted half the film. But I love the gag that he gets there, and she's like, no, you have to wait for the tour to end. And then literally the movie goes on nearly the whole tour. It just keeps going, and it's just like, oh, it's funny. Then it's annoying. Oh no, it's getting funny and again. And they go in for a third time with the most successful in the bunch with the pet shop. When for no apparent reason there's a pet shop on fire, and he decides I'm going to go in and save the animals, and he keeps like hissing at the snakes, and then coming out with puppy after puppy after puppy. And for a 90-minute movie, I'm just like, man, it feels like 20 minutes of this film is the pet shop. But I just thought those were like examples of like superior comedy, or certainly to what my expectations for this film were, especially after, like you said, at the start when he's brushing his teeth with a giant toothbrush, and I'm like, oh my god, I wasn't expecting it to go to these kind of places where I was just
The
like,
Alamo,
this is pretty well written.
The Alamo thing. Speaking of the writing, the dark thing in that, where she's going on about corn. You can do so much with corn. We've got corn to tears. Do we have any Mexican Americans with us today? and it's like the Alamo was the fight against the Mexicans. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
There's some good stuff in here. I'm absolutely convinced. And it starts with like the escaped convict guy. I know you weren't so fussed on the whole cutting tags off sofas. I thought that was pretty funny. And then the cross-dressing thing. And again, the fact that everyone's checking him out, despite the fact that he makes for a terrible woman, I just found like oddly entertaining. And then that goes straight into the truck woman scene with Large Marge, which is, which has the stop motion animation, all that jazz. And then, like I said, next thing you know, you're dealing with Simone and the whole lynching thing and the giant dinosaurs. And there's something about the iconography of this film where it really captures that sense of Americana and puts it all up on screen in a unique way. And I mean, as I'm describing this film, it was like my wife asked me the day after I watched it, she goes, because she didn't want to watch it either. And she's like, oh, what's it like? And I started explaining it. And all of a sudden, I realized I was describing it. And I was describing it as a collection of non sequiturs. And it was like, it felt like I was explaining a dream in the morning. You know, when you've had like a really, really vivid dream and you feel like, I've got to tell my wife about this. And you start telling it. And then about halfway through, you suddenly become self-aware that you're talking absolute fucking cobblers. That's what this film feels like. It feels like one long fever dream in a good way, because it just keeps jumping from thing to thing. I was just like, there is so much imagination up on screen. And I know you disagree. I know, I'm talking very much to the listeners here rather than you, because there's no way I'm going to convince you otherwise.
But we're not looking to convince each other.
We're just like, oh, sorry.
We're not looking to convince each other. We're just giving out our thoughts. The thing is, what we do here is you always deliver your thoughts better, and mine always comes up. I kind of trip over my words and then I just say shit at the end of it. I can't say why. Just it is like I just have trouble with these films, and I know it's fucking for a podcast. I should really have better words, but it's just it wasn't good. It's you and everything that you're saying about looking at the iconography, looking at this, looking at the writing, the direction, and everything like that. And I'm just looking at this film going, did we watch the same film? Because I am not seeing any of that on screen.
Did none of the characters grab you then? Because I mentioned, like, again,
I told you to grab me, Dottie. I like Dottie because I like.
Yeah, I mean, she's hardly in it though. Like, when I think about the reason this movie works is because, like I said, it's almost like a collection of sketches loosely tied together by his search for his bike, which we'll get to his bike in a bit because we've not really talked about that. And you have the scene with the escaped convict. Then, like I said, Large Marge. Then the truck stop. Actually, was the truck stop guy? You know, when he goes to the truck stop and the guy's telling the story about Large Marge and she's been dead and all that jazz. Is that the janitor from Beetlejuice? You know, like, that's the last soul's room. That's death for the dead. I'm sure that's the same dude. I just totally forgot to look it up.
I don't know.
Anyway, I thought
because I know Simone is Penguin's mother, along with Paul Rubens as Penguin's dad.
That's a great shout. Yeah. I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I know
Batman Returns, yeah?
From Batman Returns, yeah. But I'm not too sure about the dude, the truck stop.
Well, I mean, in fairness, he was obviously a fan of Simone, because Simone randomly, you think, like, for everyone else, they have their little moment in the sun and then they disappear from the movie. And then just randomly, Simone gets her, like, denouement, if I was going to use the term because she's so obsessed with France. You just suddenly, it's just like, oh, we're going to get, like, this, like, closing little chapter with Simone when you see her going off to France by bus. You're just like, all right, fair enough. That's maybe, even though it's low key, it's like the most random sequence in the film.
They all come back, Mike, don't they? They're all at the end.
I know they all have, like, you know, they basically get everyone together and they might as well have a musical number. And again, I fucking love the ending. We'll get to that in a minute. But the dance sequence at the bar, I agree, was a little bit. I didn't really care.
By the way, that was the janitor.
It was it? Oh,
yeah,
thought so.
Yeah.
But what I loved as well is the fact that so much of this film is spent getting Alamo, which we know is the incorrect location. Then all of a sudden he realizes he's supposed to be in Hollywood. And after spending like 30, 40 minutes screen time getting to the Alamo, he just appears in Hollywood. Like, I checked, from the Alamo to Hollywood, if you drove directly with no stops, it's a 20-hour drive. And that's if you have a car, which he doesn't fucking have. But the movie just goes, oh, we'll just have him in Hollywood. Just immediately. It's so fucking dumb. And I'm not sure if it's done on purpose just to add to that surreal nature, but you just kind of get on board with it because next thing you know, they're on the backlot at Warner Brothers. They're like, well, what's the one thing this movie hasn't had so far? I know, a chase sequence. We'll have a chase sequence, and the Warner Brothers lot will have fucking Godzilla, who was referenced at the start of the film, because I'm not sure if you noticed, he had a Godzilla toy in his room. He also had a cool Ultraman toy as well. And I was just like, all right, this film's just fucking going for it. This is absolutely going for it. That's the one thing I think I genuinely love, is that it just totally swings for the fences.
But that's it. It swung and it went for it, but it didn't land anything for me. It honestly didn't. It was just by the time we got to the end, I just kept pressing the how long left button. I just fucking get to the end for me.
Did you not enjoy the mentally meta
No.
ending, which I thought actually the gentleman kind of ripped off? But and one of the strangest things about the ending is I can't remember the last time I'd watched a movie with James Brolin in. I've seen two this week. I randomly decided to put on the Amityville Horror with him and Margot Kidder. And by the way, we gave Margot Kidder a hard time in the Superman podcast when I said she was a little bit whatever. She's a fucking smoke show in the Amityville Horror. Absolute cracking body. Anyway, so I saw James Brolin in that, and then he randomly shows up in this with, was it Morgan Fairchild from Dallas, and another plays Chandler's mum in Friends as well. And it was a weird story actually how James Brolin ended up playing Pee Wee Herman in the movie version of his life.
Oh, sorry, PW Herman.
My apologies. Was Paul Rubens, just because they were filming Pee Wee's Big Adventure, he ended up visiting the set of The Goonies, and he just randomly asked Josh Brolin if his dad wanted to be in the movie. Josh Brolin asked his dad, James Brolin, he's like, "Do you want to be in Pee Wee Herman?" And he just said yes. And they're just like, "All right, let's get him in the fucking movie." But I loved the ending. Like the fact that he's like, he has a cameo in his own movie while he's watching the movie at a drive-in. I was like, fucking hell, man. This is very 2025. This is insane. No love?
No love. No love. I mean, we've seen that before. Like that's happened quite a few times, isn't it? Since then. You've got like Golden, the fucking Austin Powers Gold member.
Oh, yeah, but that's what
they
I mean.
do a meta and things like that.
But that was one of the things. I didn't realize how many times this movie's been referenced. And I didn't realize, like, in the movie, he has a whole sequence, Dr. Herman paging Dr. Herman, you know, where he's being dubbed in the film, which again, I thought was quite clever. I'm pretty sure that's referenced in The Hangover when he says Dr. Fag paging Dr. Fag. I just always thought that was a somewhat funny, if somewhat offensive line. But I think it's a direct reference to Pee Wee Herman, which I just had no fucking idea about.
Oh,
nothing to add?
No, I got nothing to add. I really haven't. I tried to write notes and I couldn't. I honestly struggled with this one. And I don't know whether it was the time, whether I'm mentally tired from my personal shit, whatever, but this film just hit me at totally the wrong time. Totally. And I'm not going to give it another chance. This film was god awful. I mean, spoiler alert for my fucking.
I liked it, but I wouldn't try and convince anybody who doesn't like it, because it's such. And again, comedy is so subjective, and when it's as broad and
this was comedy
for the fence, supposedly, yeah.
Okay,
but I mean, like I said, I probably appreciated it more than I genuinely loved it, but I can totally understand why this movie is held in such high regard. I mean, just to counter your complete hatred for this film, for those who are listening to this who actually enjoy this film, or if you've never seen it before, I would say watch it and make your own mind up. But I suspect a lot of people listening to this will already have their opinions on this. They would have grown up with it. And as I said, I was very, very pleasantly surprised by this film.
For those of you listening to this who like this film, what's wrong with you?
Like, there's a few honestly, of them, I suspect.
Seek help. What's wrong with you?
I suspect a lot. I totally get it. I totally get it. And like I said, I'm as surprised as anyone, because I know I mentioned the start of this film and the fact that I didn't warm to it because it was very broad gurney humor and stuff like that. But even before that, when I saw like you, I'd just seen clips of Pee Wee Herman. I was just like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I had no interest in it. And if it wasn't for this podcast, if Adam hadn't suggested that we cover this, I would have never watched this film. There's no way I would have watched this film. So yeah, very pleasantly surprised, but genuinely surprised by how much I like this film.
I am going to say, I am sorry. You are trying your best to I guess
Oh no, I
right
know
this
I'm not
sinking
convincing
ship.
you.
No, no, not convince me to right this sinking ship. Like you've had a lot to say, and I just come back with a couple of one-word answers. So I do apologize. The back and forth hasn't probably been as good as it. Well, hopefully as good as it usually is. And the other thing, any more suggestions from Adam? You run by me first.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Although I'll thank him. I'll thank him because I wouldn't have watched this film. Although I tell you what, I won't be watching, and it's always an interesting thing when you watch these movies on Amazon and you let the credits roll.
Yeah.
What is it going to show you next? You would never, if I gave you the rest of eternity, you would never guess the movie it rolled up on me next. And I had never heard of this, but it was called Josh Kirby Time Warrior: Journey to the Magic Cavern. Does that mean
What?
anything to you?
No, no.
It looked terrible, but
What's
it
it
was
called?
like
Josh Kirby.
unless I've written this down, Josh Kirby Time Warrior: Journey to the Magic Cavern.
Oh, is that chapter one? Oh no, no. Journey to the Magic Cavern is chapter five.
Oh, what of the Josh Kirby Time Warrior movies?
Josh Kirby Time Warrior, Chapter 1, Planet of the Dino Knights. Josh Kirby Time Warrior,
Fuck.
Chapter 2, The Human Pets. Josh Kirby Time Warrior, Chapter 3, Trapped on Toy World. Magic Cavern is 5. Josh Kirby Time Warrior, Chapter 6, Last
Wowzers.
Battle for the Universe. Sorry, I missed Josh Kirby Time Warrior, Chapter 4, Eggs from 70 million BC.
Wow, that one sounds. Had you heard of these movies beforehand?
No,
No, or
no.
me. Never heard
Are
of it.
they,
And I was
are they
just like,
live
what
action?
caught my attention? Yeah, it's live action. Was just like
Fucking,
how long the fucking title was.
it's Corbin Allred. Um, oh, oh, no, no, sorry. Um, I got his name confused. I know that guy. That guy. Do you remember that random teenage TV show that they redid back in the 70s? Not 70s, in the 90s.
90s, yeah, yeah.
He was the non-dead one.
Yeah, I when I saw the kid, because I
Yeah.
obviously I watched like 5 minutes of the film, I was like, well, this just looks terrible. I'm obviously not going to watch it. But I recognized that kid, but I just didn't do any research. I was just totally caught up on the name, and I cannot believe that is like one of 6 movies, and they've
Yeah,
all
one of
got
6.
fucking
Yeah.
absolutely bonkers names. Jesus
He,
Christ.
he starred in a great film that not many people have heard of. Saints and Soldiers, fantastic World War
See,
II film.
this interact. You've interacted with me very naturally every time I've been not talking about Pee Wee Herman. So earlier when I started mentioning other films, you were bang on board. Oh yeah, yeah, Darkman, all that jazz. And as soon as I start talking about Pee Wee Herman, you just clam up again. It's like you had everything you said was at the start. I fucking hate this film. And then you look down your notes, you went, the end? Shit. Is that all I wrote? It's fucking insane.
Literally, I wrote Rube Goldberg Machine.
Yeah, of course.
Giant toothbrush. And then, yeah, that was pretty much it.
Well, I mean, the only thing I wanted to add before we wrap this up was, like he's riding around on his bike and it's a very 50s style bike. Are
Yeah,
they
yeah.
trying to sell you on the idea that his bike is uncool? Because it was the 50s. I mean, obviously, 1985, there were 2 things that were really popular. Apparently, one of them was Rube Goldberg machines. The other ones was BMXs. And unequivocally, BMXs are just the coolest bikes. And I love seeing those ones I grew up with where they had like the foam around the bars in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you had a cool bike back then, and I think maybe that was part of the joke, because like everyone's like, oh, check out his dumb bike. It was a real kind of like casual, like one of my friends, we all had BMXs growing up. One of my friends had, I think it was called like a Wildcat, and it was all black and it made sound effects. And I was just like, well, this is the fucking coolest bike in the world. So we got like immediate cool points forever. And the first bike I ever got, my brother had like a dope ass, I got a BMX eventually. My first hand was like a second-hand red, let's be clear, girl's bike, and it said Poppy down the side. That was a tough year. That was a tough fucking year having to
Are
ride
we
around on
talking
Poppy.
first bike?
Yeah, my first bike was Poppy.
So I think I've mentioned it before on a podcast, but I'll mention it again. My first bike was a He-Man Masters of the Universe bike.
That's
that my
dope.
stabilizers taken off.
That is so magnificently 80s.
The shield snapped on to the front of the handlebars, and the sword had its own sheath at the back. So I put the sword in. Yep, I fucking love that bike.
First you get the bike, then you get the khakis, then you get the girls. That's how it fucking works. Jesus Christ.
What was funny, he talked to his BMX boys quite a bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
you never see it. You see them with their BMX armor, but never on a
Which
BMX.
was, by the way, again, one of those magnificently awesome 80s things. You try and convince kids to wear like crash helmets now, like, or
Yeah.
safety helmets when they go out and ride their bikes. It's like kids in the 80s were wearing armor, although nothing for their heads. We didn't wear shit on our heads, but we wore shoulder
That's,
pads. Why? Because
yeah.
it looked like we're in Mad Max. That's fucking why. It just looked cool.
You spray paint it black, wouldn't you? If they give you a white and green one like they had, you'd spray paint it black.
I get it. It would just look badass, I suppose. But
Yeah.
that was the thing. I was just like, is the joke that his bike is rubbish? Even though now you look back, you're like, his bike was also. It was like we had like these kind of culture wars with these kids across the road from us, and we used to give him so much shit because he had a chopper rally, and we were all riding around on BMXs. Of course, you look back now and you're like, man, riding around on a chopper rally is badass. But it wasn't badass in like 1991. It didn't have any cultural cachet now. Now I look back and go like, we were on the wrong side of history. Time is told, and having that chopper rally was actually badass in the same way Pee Wee Herman riding around that 50s style, bike with like the handles coming out and all that jazz. I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. Like, if someone gave you that bike now, would you ride around on it? I totally would.
Yeah, I suppose so. I haven't ridden a bike. In a
Or
while.
do you have the issue
Yeah.
that you would just associate it with Pee Wee Herman
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
hate this movie so fucking much you never want to be reminded of it
If it's
again?
red, I'm not doing it. This
Fair
isn't good for a podcast, obviously, and I've probably done this before anyway. But I'm going to show you, Liam, a picture of my Masters of the Universe bike. You
It's
can see the
magnificent.
shield in the front, and the
color
sword goes
scheme.
down the back. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to share that online after the episode because it is an absolute masterpiece in
yeah.
fairness.
All right.
Although there is a big obsession, it's not just the bike. Like, I forgot that this movie opens with a dream sequence in France and him riding the Tour de France. I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? This is
Yeah.
good. But anyway, we'll
This is
move on.
good.
We'll move on. I assume you have nothing else to add at this point.
No, I'm good.
Fair enough. Favorite scenes is going to be interesting for you. See, mine's going to be completely opposite because I think there are so many great and memorable scenes. But the ending, which I previously mentioned, of him watching himself playing alongside James Brolin and, being voiceover, I thought was absolute comedy gold. You could make, like I mentioned, like the motorbike sequence is like broadly comedic. The hospital dream sequence is very Burton-esque. But the bit which really won me over was actually the finale to this film, which I thought was incredibly meta, really clever, without being too kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And the fact that they had kind of James Brolin randomly playing him, the fact that they brought in the Soviets, the ninjas, and he was in it, I was just like, yeah, I'm totally feeling this. But that's my favorite sequence.
No,
You don't have any favorite scene?
No. Yeah, I tried. I tried to come up with something I liked. I don't know. First time I see Dottie, maybe.
Fair enough. Well, she shows up at the end as well. Let's go with that. Loves, again, this is going to be tricky. Number one for me, just how deranged it is. Like, I was not expecting it to just be so weird. Number two, it's a good looking movie. It's surprisingly well directed. It, like you said, other than a few sequences, when you think of Burton, you think of him as being this auteur, but that really started after the success of this, which led to Beetlejuice, which then subsequently led to Batman and Edward Scissorhands. And by that point, he is an auteur and he has a distinctive look up on screen. That's not in place here. You get hints of Tim Burton, but for the most part, this is just a relatively well directed film, but it's still within the confines of the, I guess you'd call it, Pee Wee Herman universe, I suppose. But regardless, it's still a good looking movie. Number three, a wonderful cast of truly unique characters. It's like a more broadly comedic Coen Brothers movie at its best, I think. And I'm going to sneak in two more. For the fact that it's 19 minutes long on the snout, which I think you might also have down as a love for different reasons. And I do quite enjoy the amalgamation of the 50s and 80s aesthetics. I'm going to just throw in a few extras because I know you're going to struggle to have fucking any.
I got three loves.
Oh, there we go.
The time, you're right. 90 minutes, yeah. Elizabeth Daily as Dottie.
Fair enough, yeah.
E.G. Daily, sorry, I called her Elizabeth.
She's so charming. So charming.
Yeah. And I keep calling him Chubby. Francis's bath. I like
that
the bath.
sequence where he's going to kill Francis. You're like, fuck, he did not mess around when it comes to his bike.
Not at all.
Quick.
Yeah.
Hates the first 10 minutes are a lot. There's just a lot, and it was everything I thought I was going to hate about this film. Number two, I'm still not sure I actually like Pee Wee Herman as a character, despite the fact that I like the film built around him. Number three, Dottie just not treated with the respect that she deserves. Like, she is, especially by the end of the film, you're like, she is a full-on ride or die bitch, and he is being so passive about it. It's like, make no mistake, Pee Wee Herman does not deserve Dottie. I'm still not sure if he deserves this movie. he definitely doesn't deserve Dottie. So those are my hates.
So we're kind of on the same track. Like Dottie is in mine as well, being treated and mistreated, as it were.
Mhm.
You said the first 10 minutes. It's the first 90 minutes for me.
Fair enough.
Just yeah. And Pee Wee Herman. I fucking hate Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, it's tricky for a film called
Yeah.
Pee Wee Herman, in fairness. Any alternative titles to this film?
Yep. Bear with me 1 second. Where are we? Right. So in Brazil, it was Pee Wee's Greatest Adventures Ace.
Dude,
Yeah. That's a lot of words.
that is a lot of words.
Finland, The Great Adventure of Pee Wee.
Hmm.
Germany, Pee Wee's Crazy Adventure.
It's fine.
I guess there's nothing for Pee Wee in Greece. It's Pi or Pi-UI. Great
Maybe
Adventure.
that's how they could pronounce the name of it. I have no idea.
Lithuania, The Big Adventure of the Little One.
It's horrible.
Romania, The Adventures of Pee Wee. That's pretty much it. Oh, Taiwan, Life Adventures.
Life Adventures.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot more
Adventures,
important than this film is, in fairness. Any facts? I suspect there'll be quite a few facts to this film, actually.
Yeah, there is quite a few, to be fair. You've already said the book one, so Jan Hooks improvised the dialogue for her scenes as the Alamo tour guide.
She's really good, actually.
During the entire time Large Marge tells her story, she never blinks.
See, that's how you deliver lines as a lunatic. Like,
Yep.
she's not the first person to do that. I mean, wasn't it the same? We did Roger Rabbit a couple of weeks ago, and didn't Christopher? I was going to say Christopher Lambert, Christopher Lloyd. He does the same thing. He delivers all his lines without blinking.
Approximately 10 to 12 bicycles were built for the movie by the Pedal Pusher Bike Shop in Newport Beach, California, a shop that specialized in vintage and classic bicycles and parts. They were offered 10 grand and no screen credit or screen credit only. The shop chose the money. The bike shop had an autographed 8x10 glossy of Paul Rubens that said, "To Micah Pedal Pusher, ARG," from Pee Wee Herman.
Fair enough. And I wonder if those bikes are just worth more in America. As we mentioned at the start of the podcast, the whole idea that he's a distinctly American character, an American creation. It's like, does he still have a lot of kind of cultural cachet? Because there was they brought him back in 2016, 17, whatever it was, before he passed away, to do the Netflix movie. So it was obviously enough of a thing that they thought, okay, we'll bring him back in. I don't know how well that did, and it didn't have any impact over here because Pee Wee just isn't a thing in the UK. But yeah, I wonder over there if oh man, if you get your hands on a Pee Wee bike, that'd be fucking awesome. But I have no idea how much they would go for, none whatsoever.
Many of the movie's props came from the personal belongings of Paul Rubens, that I believe. When Pee Wee turns around while looking for his bike and there are wheels spinning behind his head, it's an homage to Alfred Hitchcock. Mario, the magic shop owner, is named after Mario Bava, who is one of Tim Burton's favorite and most inspirational filmmakers. Dinosaurs are a recurring theme in this film. In Pee Wee's bedroom, when he's lifting weights right after he gets out of bed, there's a toy Tyrannosaurus Rex on the window still behind him. When Pee Wee is pushing the toy fire truck just before he runs over Mr. Potato Head with it, there's a great dinosaur head to his left. When he slides down the pole in his house, there's a silhouette of a brontosaurus in the translucent glass. In Pee Wee's house, a toy pterodactyl on a clothesline-esque string carries bread to the toaster. A toy Tyrannosaurus Rex squeezes an orange to make an orange juice. At Pee Wee's house, a silhouette of a dinosaur can be seen on the glass next to the sliding pole. When Pee Wee gets off Large Marge's truck, the dinosaurs in the film are an actual tourist attraction.
A lot of dinosaurs, including one particularly ginormous dinosaur, in fairness.
Yeah. The Mr. T cereal eaten by Pee Wee actually existed. It was not something made up for the film.
Yeah. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. When Pee Wee weighs in at the beginning of the movie, he is literally a 98-pound weakling. Laurie Loughlin, Laura Dern, Phoebe Cates, Leah Thompson, and Jennifer Jason Leigh were all considered for the role of Dottie.
Well, it's not actually a massive part. She's only in a couple of scenes, isn't she?
Yeah. Jason Harvey revealed that he still remembers his lines from the movie, something I probably wouldn't admit. Pee Wee's house is only 0.6 miles from the restaurant where Sarah Connor worked in The Terminator.
That's awesome.
When Pee Wee visits...
fucking restaurant. She says the name of the restaurant in the film.
When Pee Wee visits the film studio, some extras, including John Paragon, walk around in red armor from Krull. I wondered where I saw that armor before. Krull, that's a film we need to do. For lack
I
of,
wouldn't mind seeing that. We keep
have you
being.
never
I don't
seen
know why
it?
it's popped into my head. I've never seen Crawl, and I bought it for the podcast, and we just forgot to do it. Was Excalibur?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Got to do that.
Uh, oh, that's it. Really, there's nothing else worth doing. Worth talking about.
Big Jeffs. Is that what it's called? Big Jeffs.
Who?
Anyway,
The restaurant.
the
where Sarah
restaurant
Connor
in
works.
Terminator. Yeah. I was just trying to
Yeah.
look it up. Anyway. Hug to the Future. So this is where we ask a question. Remake, sequel, Let It Die, Live Well Alone. I think we know what your answer is. Mine is actually the same, but for a different reason. I think just Let It Die. I think it's a perfect combination of timing and talent. I won't be watching the sequels because I don't like the character. I think it is that combination of writers, character, and director, and the score, the full works. And as I said, I actually think it's weird because he's my least favorite part about the film. I still think you need him to create that kind of unique world around him. But it's not like I'm watching this film going, oh my God, I want to see more Pee Wee Herman. I'm happy for just this 90 minutes of cinema to exist, and I'll never watch another film. So happy for it to let it die.
Yeah, Let It Die. It was Big Jeff's, by the way.
There we go.
But Let It Die.
Yeah, fair enough. Make a change other than just, I guess. I mean, mine is like, I would just make Pee Wee slightly less annoying. I would just turn him down a bit. I just find him a lot, to be honest. And as I said, he kind of gets dulled down, diluted somewhat by the fact that he's playing alongside so many big, huge characters. But I never escape the fact that I never really like Pee Wee. So I would just tone Pee Wee down.
I wouldn't give him a budget.
Fair enough. Just don't make the film.
Yeah.
Make a film, just don't make the film. Video games, none. Surprisingly, there wasn't an actual Pee Wee's Big Adventure video game. He is referenced in GTA 5, and there's also a mod that allows for Pee Wee to become a net runner in Cyberpunk 2077. So that's a somewhat unique experience, I suppose. If I was going to make one, I would either go for something like Double Fine Psychonauts, like a collection of video game non-sectors that drag you from one situation and one gameplay loop to the next without much like rhyme or reason, I suppose. That, or if you wanted to take that to like the extreme end of the spectrum, I'd go for like WarioWare, but it would be like Pee Wee Wear, I guess, although that sounds like a kind of clothing brand.
Yeah.
But just kind of like Pee Wee related mini games where they just jump from one to the other and you just forget the storylines. It's just weird characters where you just have to do like really odd tasks that are built in that world. I think that'd probably be the best thing for it. So I'll actually go with the second one. I'm going to go with Pee Wee's WarioWare Adventure.
If you're psychotic enough to want a Pee Wee game because you haven't got enough Pee Wee, I would do a like a meta game where you could become Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, go find your bike or do whatever you want to do in a weird Pee Wee world. Because this entire world feels fucking strange anyway. Where the house is full of Rube Goldberg machines. Like his neighbor's happy that he's constantly got to keep his window closed because he's watering his garden in the stupidest way possible. Like the weird bat cave that he's got for his bike. Just, yeah. All of it just feels like a video game-esque anyway, so...
It does, as you said, quite surreal. Best and worst of IMDb. So this is where we pick out a random 10-star and 1-star review for this film. I suspect this has got a lot of good reviews. I suspect this is reviewed better than your review would suggest. Again, I'm not criticizing you if you don't like this film. That's absolutely fine. But I would err on the side of, I bet you this has got a lot more 10-star reviews than 1-star reviews.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
How many reviews? So there's two different things. Is this like how many just reviews or how many written reviews?
How many written reviews?
It can't be that fucking many. 180?
228.
That's not too far off.
No, not too bad. How many 10 stars?
37?
60.
Oof.
Yeah.
I knew people love this film. I didn't realize it was quite that much. That is a really high percentage, actually.
Yeah. So written in April 2020, so quite recent for this. One of the best comedies of all time. Why? I don't know.
That is actually a really good start. Really good start.
Because it is unexpected, because it comes out of nowhere and surprises you with at least one laugh out loud moment in every scene. Like the more recent Napoleon Dynamite, this movie is just fun and good feeling instilling from beginning to end. There are not many movies which make me laugh out loud, even one time in their duration, but this one gets me once or more per scene every time I watch it. Paul Reubens was a genius whose career was cut way too short by something which would not raise an eyebrow today. Hopefully this movie will always be considered comedy gold. It deserves to be. It's one of my top 5 comedies of all time. Oh, that's right. Nobody would hire him because of the
Yeah, it was like
masturbation cinema.
yeah, and it was like
Yeah,
yeah, it was just bullshit in the end. So yeah, he got completely dicked on that. No terrible pun intended. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't actually agree. I don't actually think it was quite as funny as Justin. There was I think I laughed out loud maybe like 3 times in the film. As I kind of appreciated his imagination more than it being some kind of like fantastic comedy. But yeah, I get where they come from though, totally. Now this is the Rob review, 1 star. I reckon there's like some people will hate this film for sure. 13,
Not as many as you think. 5.
5.
Five,
Really
yeah.
on a minority. Fair
Yeah.
play. Written by
Uh,
Rob Westgate, 2025.
No.
I hate this movie.
It's funny, isn't it? When I don't like something, I don't really have anything more than I just didn't like it. I
Yeah, I
can't
was just going to
convey
say,
my
man, thank fuck I've got something to say about this film. Otherwise, this film would have been about 7 minutes long in fairness, this podcast.
This is why I don't do a podcast on my own. It's 30 seconds long.
Don't watch this film, it's shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, on next week's podcast.
Yeah. Written in July 2006, titled So Disturbing. I have seen this before about 10 years ago. I recently tried to watch this film again. Anyway, I couldn't get past the part where he is fixing breakfast in the very beginning. Why? Because I was so disturbed. I don't know what it is about this movie, the lighting, soundtrack, Kiwi himself, but it honestly just freaked me out to the point where I had to turn it off. Some of it might have to do with Paul Rubens getting arrested for the sex crimes. The atmosphere of this film is just so dark and freaky. The 80s had something to do with it for sure, but I just don't understand the appeal of this film. Don't get me wrong, I love Tim Burton. I also really enjoy horror movies and such, but this film is just so eerie and disturbing. Right.
That doesn't make sense.
I didn't watch their film.
I like Tim Burton, and I really like horror films. But just be clear, this isn't a horror film. Like,
No.
it's weird, it's surreal.
Oh, it's
not
a horror
film.
It's a horror show. It's not a horror film.
Fair enough, but yeah, that is a weird way to look at it. It's like I like horror films, so I should like Pee Wee's Big Adventures. All right, fair enough. So yeah, I'm genuinely not surprised to hear that a lot of people love this film. And as I said, going into it, I knew it had a bit of a cult following. I just wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, which leads into our own rating recommendations, which are obviously going to be wildly different. For me, it's a 4-star film, really easy, and I would recommend this film. I genuinely would, because I don't think there's anything else quite like it. It does come with the caveat that Pee-wee is annoying, and you have to kind of get over that hurdle in the first 10 to 15 minutes. But once this film gets going, I think it's absolutely bonkers. It doesn't stop for a minute. I think it's, like I said, it really swings for the fences. And yeah, I've literally told my wife, I was like, you should have watched this with me. Because she was the same. She was like, I don't want to watch this. And I was like, I was like, I don't blame you. I don't think I want to watch it either. But the next day, I was like, I think if you get the opportunity, you should watch this film. So yeah, I would. I'm not going to tell people you have to go and see it, but I think it's a genuinely interesting film, and especially if you're like a Tim Burton fan. Just don't go expecting it to feel like a Tim Burton film.
I don't know if we can give film 0, so I'm going to give it a 1.
That's very good of you. Very reasonable.
And no, don't watch it. Don't watch it. Don't subject yourselves to it.
I don't think we've ever disagreed more on a movie. Well, one, you've never hated a film as much as this in the 207, 8 podcasts, whatever it is we've done. And in fairness, there aren't many the only one I truly hated was the Goldberg Christmas film, which admittedly I actually really liked the opening sequence, but I thought the rest was terrible.
Oh, I keep forgetting we've done Santa's Sleigh.
Yeah, that was a bad film. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, I can't remember the last time we've ever been so diametrically opposed, should we say?
Yeah, worlds apart.
Indeed. But hey, it's not going to happen again because next week's your choice. So, you can pick a film you like, I assume.
Yeah. Well, I need a palate cleanser.
Indeed.
So the year is 1986.
Is Rube Goldberg machines involved, or they moved on by 1986?
I think they've moved on by then.
Oh, fair enough. I'm going to need more than 86. There were a lot of films in 86.
Stars Tom Cruise.
86 and Tom Cruise. Risky Business? No. It was after. It was before Top Gun. After Risky Business. It's not The Outsiders, because that was that was like 82.
That was 81, yeah, 81, 82. I'm more surprised that you're thinking about it and not going, you picked Tom Cruise?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a minute, but at first I'm just like, 86, I should be able to get this. Fuck. Cocktail?
No.
That was too early again. That was 88. Yeah. What the fuck was he doing in 86? Like, because we've already done Legend.
Yeah. Mary Elizabeth.
What, Weinstead?
Mary, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio is in it as well.
I just can't. I'm drawing a complete blank. You have to tell me.
Right. As soon as I say the other guy, you're gonna know it.
Mhm.
Paul Newman.
Oh, the pool one, the sequel.
Yeah. The Color of Money.
Color of Money. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Oh yeah, yeah. That's an awesome film. Although bizarrely, I've only seen it once, and I think I watched it like 3-4 years ago for the first time.
Oh
Spoiler
yeah.
alert! It's good. It's really fucking good.
Yeah.
And yeah, back almost. I know is just famously you're not the biggest fan of Tom Cruise, but in fairness, before Top Gun and before he became Tom Cruise, he was interesting movie star playing alongside kind of like legends of the, that was his whole thing. It was like, I'm going to put myself on screen with all these legends of cinema and just see how I hold up. And if you go back to his earlier films, like they some genuinely interesting choices and performances in there before he just became movie star Tom Cruise.
Well, that's where it differs. See, the reason why I like this film. Well, no, there's many reasons why I like this film and why I wanted to revisit it because I haven't seen it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
This film and Rain Man are two Tom Cruise films I have time for because because he's not trying to hide the fact that he is a cunt.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like I'm sorry, go straight to the C word when it comes to Tom Cruise. He's not trying to hide the fact that Tom Cruise himself is an absolute awful person, and he on screen he's showing it. So I'm good with it.
I don't think he's an awful person. I think he's a really, really weird person. Although
Tom
maybe
Cruise.
I'm just won over by the fact
Oh,
that
dude,
he
he
is
drinks
trying to like.
he's drinking the blood of children.
I don't know what's going on, but the important thing is he is single-handedly trying to save cinema, which I am absolutely so important because I think it's so important. Like genuinely, what he's doing at the moment, like trying to save like mainstream cinema by like pushing everything back to the big screen, not letting kind of streaming services take over. I think, but that's a whole different conversation. As you said earlier in his career, he did some really genuine, interesting performances. And Tom Cruise is really good at playing a dickhead. Like you said, he's a fucking weirdo, whatever you might think, like of his output. Like he is a person. He's strange for sure. But he's a really good actor. And if anything, he proved it more earlier in his career when he was like swinging for the fences a bit with some of his choices. And this is one of them, playing alongside Paul Newman, where like he totally holds his own and he's totally willing to play against type at that age. So yeah, I think this could be an interesting choice.
This is up there with one of my three favorite pool movies as well. So I'm.
Oh, we'll save that for next week because I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I have favorite pool movies, but I mean,
I
do
three.
like. I know I like this film. So
The Hustler is not one of them. The Hustler is a good film, but the Hustler is not one of my three favorite pool movies.
Okay, well, tune in next week to listen to Rob talk about a film. I assume you'll at least like to one extent or another. Although, when was the last time you saw this? Just out of interest.
We're talking maybe 9-10 years ago. It's been a fair clip.
Yeah. But it's not like one of those films like I remember liking this when I was like 12, and now you're suddenly.
Oh God, no.
You've watched it as an adult.
Yeah, Paul Newman's great in it. He's great with Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio again. I think as much as, like I said, I'm not a fan of Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise is great in this film. I think it's such a good story. I'm really looking forward to revisiting it.
Yeah. And it's just something about like having like two generational movie stars just kind of like up on screen together and just letting them cook. Because, this isn't like big special effects or anything like this. This is a character piece. It's just like, all right, you guys just get on screen and just go at it. And they absolutely do.
And spoiler alert, this is obviously directed by Martin Scorsese. We haven't said that one. But this is, I guess, legacy sequel done right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And bizarrely, I think this might be our first Scorsese movie, right?
I think so. I don't think.
I don't think we've done a Scorsese film before.
With all the Scorseses to pick as well, it's Color of Money. Jesus.
It's like giving him the Oscar for The Departed. It's like, yeah, we liked The Departed, but really, you're giving him the Oscar for this? We haven't done good films. We haven't done any of those films. And bizarrely, one of my friends, like he is literally one of the guys I work with. He's a massive movie fan. He finds it absolutely fucking insane that I've not watched Raging Bull. He's like, wait, so you love Martin Scorsese, you love Robert De Niro, you love movies, and you love boxing, and you've not seen Raging Bull? I'm like, yeah, I know. I know it's insane. I think it's just because I know it's one of those films. It's going to be good, but it's going to be an ordeal. And I'm just like, I almost have to like take a run up to it. But one of these days, I'm just going to have to fucking pull the plaster off. Maybe we'll have to. Do we want to do Raging Bull on the fucking podcast? I have no idea.
There's some films as well where you just think maybe time has gone and too many people are saying it's good kind of thing. And You know, you just
Well, you have like expectations built up, and I know
Yeah.
you're not the biggest fan, but I mentioned before I had that issue with like The Godfather for so long, where it's just like, dude, I'm just my expectations are so high, I'm ultimately going to be disappointed. But of course, you watch it and it's good, and even like some of the longer ones where you think, or older films where you're just like, oh man, that film was made in like 1959 or something like that. It's like, is it going to hold up? And you eventually watch like Seven Samurai or The Red Shoes or something like that, and then you're just like, oh yeah, it's still good. Like it's old, and you have to kind of almost get over that initial hurdle when you see it. And you're like, oh, and it can be quite stagey, especially going back to 50s movies and even early 60s, up until like New Hollywood, like bringing it back to Paul Newman. You know, if you watch something made like even like what's his name? Jesus Christ, you mentioned him earlier, The Birds. The director, one of the most famous directors of all time. I've got Stanley
Alfred
Kubrick
Hitchcock.
stuck in my head. Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
He's obviously one of the most famous directors of all time. Makes these fantastic films. But if you watch a film from like, the late 50s, early 60s, Hitchcock film, like, I don't know, fucking Vertigo, The Birds, whatever, they're amazing, but they're incredibly stagey. And then suddenly you watch something like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid from 1969, and you're like, how can these films be like 5, 6, 7 years apart? They feel like they're from like different universes because just the shift was so dramatic at the end of the 60s. But anyway, I've kind of gone off on a bit of a ramble.
If I can bring it back a little bit, you mentioned Raging Bull. Well, bring it back. Raging Bull, Robert De Niro played Jake LaMotta. If anyone ever does, go back and watch The Hustler, the first one with Paul Newman as Eddie Felson, because I think it's a great film, released in 1960.
I've never seen it.
So there's 25 years between them. I do think it's a great film, but role of bartender played by Jake LaMotta.
It's a really.
Yeah, Jake LaMotta.
There's the link. Yeah. No idea. No idea. So I might actually see this as an excuse to watch both. I might watch The Hustler and I might watch The Color of Money.
Yeah, so you don't need. Obviously, you have.
No, I know that. I was
The
happy
Hustler
to watch. I watched Color of Money, and it was fine.
I think it's such a good film. It is a really good film, The Hustler. But The Color of Money, I think, is a better film for me because it's my era. It's the 80s. So,
and I'm just going to stress that to anyone listening to this who's like thinking, oh, maybe I should, if you haven't seen the film and you're thinking about listening to the podcast next week, you're absolutely bang on. You don't have to watch The Hustler to watch Color of Money. You can just jump straight in The Color of Money. It works as a standalone movie. Obviously, there'll be hints, nods, things you'll get and understand if you've seen The Hustler, but it's not necessary whatsoever. So if you just want to watch that film ahead of the podcast, you're absolutely gold. Is it one of those films that's available anywhere, or are we going to have to pay for it?
Which one now?
Color of Money.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, mate. Color of Money, you've got to pay for. It's on Prime.
I don't mind paying for it. I mean, I paid for Pee Wee Herman. I think I should be willing to pay for Color of Money. And I know this film's good, so it's absolutely fine. So yeah, anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, not today, mate. I'm all good today, thanks.
All right, cool. I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.